On December 26, 1991, one of the most powerful countries in human history disappeared from the world map. The Soviet Union was a superpower with thousands of nuclear weapons, one of the largest armies on Earth, and influence over dozens of countries. For almost 70 years, it challenged the United States and shaped global politics. But then, without being defeated in a major war, the Soviet Union collapsed. So how did it happen? To understand the collapse, we first need to understand the power of the Soviet Union. The USSR was created in 1922 after the Russian Revolution, when the Communist Party took control of the former Russian Empire. The new government promised equality and a society without wealthy elites. However, power became concentrated in the hands of the Communist Party. Under leaders like Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union rapidly industrialized and became a major military power. After World War II, the USSR emerged as one of the two strongest nations in the world, alongside the United States. This rivalry created the Cold War, a global competition between capitalism and communism. The Soviet Union built nuclear weapons, developed advanced technology, and became the first country to send a human into space. From the outside, it looked unstoppable. But underneath the surface, serious problems were growing. The biggest weakness of the Soviet Union was its economy. Unlike Western countries where companies competed in markets, the Soviet economy was controlled by the government. Officials decided what factories produced, how much they produced, and where resources were sent. This system helped the USSR build heavy industries and military power, but it struggled to provide everyday goods for ordinary people. By the 1970s and 1980s, the economy started falling behind. While Western countries were developing computers, electronics, and modern consumer products, many Soviet citizens faced shortages of basic items. People often waited in long lines to buy food, clothing, and household products. At the same time, the Soviet government spent enormous amounts of money competing with the United States in weapons and military technology. The country was powerful, but maintaining that power became increasingly expensive. Another major problem was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. The Soviet Union sent troops to support a communist government in Afghanistan, but the conflict quickly turned into a long and costly war. Afghan fighters, known as the Mujahideen, resisted Soviet forces. The war lasted almost 10 years and became a huge financial and military burden. Thousands of Soviet soldiers were killed, and the conflict damaged the reputation of the Soviet Union. Many historians compare Afghanistan to America's experience in Vietnam, a powerful country becoming trapped in a difficult war it could not easily win. In 1985, a new Soviet leader came to power, Mikhail Gorbachev. He believed the Soviet system needed major changes to survive. He introduced two famous reforms. The first was perestroika, meaning restructuring. It aimed to improve the economy by introducing some limited market reforms. The second was glasnost, meaning openness. It allowed more freedom of speech and greater criticism of the government. Gorbachev wanted to save the Soviet Union. But instead, his reforms revealed problems that had been hidden for decades. People began openly criticizing the Communist Party. National movements grew stronger, and many Soviet republics started demanding independence. The system that had controlled millions of people for decades was beginning to lose control. During the late 1980s, Soviet influence over Eastern Europe began collapsing. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, becoming a symbol of the end of communist rule in Europe. Countries that had been under Soviet influence started choosing their own political paths. Inside the Soviet Union itself, many republics wanted independence. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Georgia, and others began moving away from Moscow's control. The central government was becoming weaker, and the idea of a united Soviet Union was disappearing. In August 1991, a group of communist officials attempted a coup to stop the reforms and restore control. The coup failed, but it showed that the Soviet government was no longer stable. Boris Yeltsin, the leader of Russia, became more powerful, while Gorbachev's influence declined. One by one, Soviet republics declared independence. By December 1991, the Soviet Union had reached its final days. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet flag was lowered from the Kremlin for the last time. The USSR officially ceased to exist. The collapse of the Soviet Union was not caused by one single event. It was the result of decades of economic problems, military expenses, political changes, and demands for freedom. A nation that once challenged the United States and controlled half of Europe disappeared in just a few years. The fall of the Soviet Union remains one of the most important events of the 20th century, a reminder that even the strongest powers can collapse. From with history is full of moments that change the world forever. If you want to discover more untold stories, subscribe and join us on this journey through history.